Hey everyone, welcome back to episode 18 of You Are More with Emily Cave Boit. I am so excited to have my friend Sawyer on the podcast today. He is the founder of Country Liberty, former hockey player, and just an incredible human being. He's actually followed me from way back when in the You Are More days when it was just a website. So we kind of joke about that. And talk about that and just both of our journeys the past 10 years. So, welcome, Sawyer, to the You Are More podcast.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I feel like you have been such a loyal You Are More follower journey since the website days. I feel like I have an old photo of you holding a You Are More sign.
Yeah.
In 2015 or 2016
Mhm.
to now on the podcast. Crazy journeys for us both to get us to where we are today. Take me back, in the beautiful background, take me back to your days growing up, in Canada and the Maritimes and all of that.
Sure. Yeah. So it's funny you mentioned the photo. I remember vividly the apartment I was living in university, but yeah, that was in Fredericton, New Brunswick. So that's where I went to university. But I grew up in Rexton, which is where I am now. Splitting my time between here and Nashville. Um, I grew up just a small town country boy here I grew up on some family land about 3 or 4 kilometers from where I'm sitting right now. Um, kind of grew up surrounded by cousins and extended family and relatives, and we had a family lane where our whole it was a country lane where everybody on the lane was related. So we had a lot of really good sense of community growing up, which I was very fortunate to have, and which eventually inspired my business and my brand, Country Liberty. But yeah, just grew up like any regular small town kid, playing outdoors a lot, and just kind of coming home with grass stains and bumps and bruises and fighting with each other and just being reckless little shitheads, honestly, at times. But my father was really passionate about hockey, and my grandfather too, both diehard Leaf fans. So naturally, I played hockey, and
Sorry
just
about
kind of
that in the playoffs. I
yeah.
thought the Leafs were gonna go far. I'm not gonna lie.
Uh, well, it seems like they had kind of the best run at Florida, like in my opinion,
hmm
by biased opinion, like they were up 3-1 in game three, up 2-0 in the series, and blew it in classic Leafs fashion. Blew it, and then everybody in everybody in Toronto's freaking out, and all the English Leaf fans, because usually it's the French folks that cheer for the Canadians out here, so all the English fans are freaking out. Um, but yeah, devastating, tough team to cheer for. I mean, they won in '67. My father was born in '65, so his entire life he just turned 59. So his whole life he hasn't seen them win. Hopefully I do in my lifetime.
But Leafs fans or Leafs were the motivation for them to love hockey and eventually for you to fall in love with hockey as well.
Yeah, yeah, I think so. I mean, my father and his brothers played hockey just locally growing up, and opportunities back then, especially on the East Coast, wasn't, no one went anywhere playing hockey back then. And so then when my age group, that started to kind of change a little bit. So I got really interested. I was never like a superstar or anything. I was on our local teams. I feel I was always, above average, but I wasn't like a superstar. And then when I hit the midget age, I got better and got taller and just kind of grew into my frame and got more confident and those things. And it was then when I started hearing from major junior teams, and where I'm from, there was somebody that played major junior maybe 20 years before me, but that was kind of it. And it just wasn't really a thing. I used to watch the Moncton Wildcats once a year, and that was, but it felt like the NHL to me watching those guys. So I never really thought that was in the cards for me. And then all of a sudden had a really good year in midget, talked to all the teams, uh, got with some advice from a hockey mentor. They made the suggestion that, there's certain teams you don't want to play for major junior. So once I talked to every team and realized I had choices, I kind of played the game a little bit, told certain teams I wasn't going to play major junior, and then told my one team that I wanted to go to that I was going to, so they drafted me, and I got to go to the team I wanted to, which was Halifax. They were rebuilding because before I got there, they traded everything for Brad Marchand. So full circle, he just won the cup.
I love Marshy. I texted Katrina when he won. It was, oh, I love Marshy.
Yeah, he's been having fun, hey, the last like 2 weeks.
Oh yeah. He's one of my favorite. Yeah, he was the first Bruin we ever met. We went there for Thanksgiving, and then he was actually the last Bruin to see Colby alive. So I have a
Oh,
special
really?
connection with
Wow.
Marshy for sure. But that's funny that he was at Halifax too.
Yeah, so Marshy, Leaf Killer. I love him too because I trained with him one summer actually, and I got to know him, and I got to know his brother, Jeff, and I met his sister in university, and with the Maritimes are is a small area, so I've always rooted for him. Like I've always been a big fan. I hate when he scores against the Leafs, but besides that, I'm always rooting for him. You know, it was weird this year in the final because I like Marchand, and I think Florida had the best team, but I wanted to see a Canadian team win too, and I wanted to see McDavid win, and so either way, I wasn't upset with who won in the final, but I was happy for Marchand, and I love just how like wild he is right now too, like just partying his face off, doesn't give a shit. Like I love it.
And Katrina's incredible too. So Halifax with
Yeah,
the
so
Moose.
we were in a rebuild because we sold the farm to acquire Marchand like before I got there. So we were the worst team in the league the first year. We didn't make the playoffs second year, but I had a good year my first year, and then that's what got me drafted. And again, I didn't expect to get drafted. I didn't. There was a draft pick from this area like 25, 30 years prior, like just something that was really didn't seem possible for us or for me because I was never, like I said, a superstar, but I just kind of was a role player and played a certain style that could translate to the next level, or so they thought. So yeah, I was drafted. My agent told me to go to the draft. It was in LA. I had an agent. I didn't have an agent before, and then a month before the draft or something, I was told like, you need an agent. So I got one and spoke to a few NHL teams, and then he told me to go to the draft in LA. I didn't go because it was the same day as my high school graduation. And I wasn't sure I'd get picked. I still didn't really believe it. And I got picked late in the seventh round. So I got a call while I was at my like family graduation party. They're like, hey, like, this is the Vancouver. I don't even remember who it was on the phone because I like blacked out. But it was like, hey, this is the Vancouver Canucks. Like, we just selected you in the NHL draft. And I was stoked. And they're like, basically like, I hope you're in shape because you're coming to town in like 3 or 4 weeks for a
You're
dev
like,
camp. I'm
uh-oh.
like, yeah, I'm like, oh my God, got to hit my local gym here.
No
Um,
beers for this high school crowd.
yeah, I mean, we celebrated that night, but I quickly, like, right away, I was like, yeah, I got to get into shape. And I still wasn't in good enough shape, in hindsight, 17 years old, playing again, going to camp against grown men. Um, but it was, that's kind of how it started. Got picked and went to a few camps. Had a really good relationship with the scout that essentially drafted me, Daryl Young. He's Halifax based. He spent a lot of time with me on the ice early mornings, like 5:30 skates, no pucks, just working on like foundational stuff and things like that. So really bonded with him. And then Vancouver went to the Stanley Cup final, lost to the Bruins in 2011. So they had a
Hershey
really good
again.
team. Marshy again. Yeah, exactly. This is really a full circle
Yeah.
conversation here. But yeah, so they had a really good team, hard team to make, and then we were negotiating a contract. They didn't end up signing me. We were negotiating a contract, and then I got a really bad concussion to a point that I like couldn't read or write. I was like in a dark room for like 2 months. It was really miserable, and lost my contract opportunity with them because of that. Uh, and then they eventually sent me to Europe, and they're like, listen, like we don't want to sign you because we don't want to give up a contract spot basically for you, but we want you to go to Europe and play under a former NHL coach there, Pierre Page, and develop over in Europe. whatever. So I left junior a year earlier, like my 20-year-old season for junior. Um, I didn't finish major junior. I went to Europe, and then there was an NHL lockout. So then all these NHL players flood overseas. Of course, I was 19, just turning 20. I get pushed down the depth chart. So I'm not playing very much. And I left, about a third or halfway through that season, and finished my major junior I came back to Halifax. They had their 3 20-year-olds already set because you're only allowed three. So I was the fourth guy, odd man out. I get dealt for a bag of pucks to Victoriaville, so into a different division. Had a blast, loved it there. Lived in Quebec for the first time. They know barely any English in that town. Like, it was really cool life experience. Halifax went on to win the Memorial Cup that year. So the year I was traded, they had McKinnon and Fucali and Drouin and Ferk and all these studs. Yeah, they won the damn cup. So I was there for the dark ages, like fighting 20 times a year and just grinding it out, like riding the bus after losses, like, taking abuse at practice because we were not winning, and then I get dealt and they win. So,
How that
you
happens
know,
in life sometimes, eh?
yeah, shit happens. I mean, whatever. It is what it is. And then when I was in Europe, that's when I got inspired. Like, I was proud of where I was from. I was traveling around a lot at this point, and I was like, I want to represent this feeling somehow. Don't know really how. That's where the concept for Country Liberty kind of came about. And then I signed a deal in the American League, got sent down to the East Coast League. And when I was in the East Coast League, I was debating like going back to school because I was like, I'm not that good. There's a lot of really good players. For me to make it to, like, basically the NHL to meet my ambitions, like in terms of the career I want to have and the money I want to make and all of that. Like, I don't want to just grind it out in the minors forever. So I was like, I am I good enough to get there or not? And at the time I was like, probably not. I had a hard look in the mirror and just said, maybe I should hedge my bets and have a backup plan. So I went back to school and had a full ride scholarship, left pro, went back to school. And then that's when I started Country Liberty, because I was like, hey, I'm here. I can't get like cut or traded. I'm taking all these business courses. So I might as well start a business in real life and just apply it to all my courses, and also have like classmates kind of like working for me indirectly, so then it just kind of started at school, selling on campus and selling out of my, we had a 4-bedroom apartment, but there was only 3 of us. So the 4th bedroom was like a little Country Liberty room. And yeah, just started wheeling and dealing. And that's when I met you, I think was right in that time period, within months anyway, maybe the year before, give or
Yeah, it
take,
was
but
kind
right
of
in
all in
that,
that time period.
yeah, that time
It's
period.
yeah, that's so crazy. You're like hockey background. Can't speak today. Hockey background to business background. Like, yeah, like 10 years ago, you made the like mug. You got to reenact that. I feel like for
Oh, I'm not
like
doing that. No way.
you have to
No
do
way.
like a before and after, like a glow up, if that makes sense. That's awesome. But I was gonna say, I feel like what a lot of people don't appreciate, or maybe not appreciate, but don't realize with like the hockey life or any like athlete life, is you are away from like your family and friends so much. So I love that. That's kind of also what inspired Country Liberty. um I know, in Colby's situation, he played in Swift Current. I'm very close with his billet family still to this day. I don't know if you had billets.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
They billets like don't get enough credit. I say all the time, I'm like, you taking like teenage boys like at the most
At our worst.
expensive grocery bill
Hmm.
time at questionable choices time, but also at a time where like you guys are like vulnerable and like fighting for your dream. So yeah, I give a lot of credit to billet families, but I do love that Country Liberty was like started all because of that. So yeah, tell us a little bit more about Country Liberty. The Country Liberty, obviously I can see your hat right now, but for people that don't know, and then kind of what you learned through hockey and now up to where Country Liberty is today.
Sure. Yeah. So Country Liberty is a country lifestyle clothing brand. I started it with $400 in university. It was, one design and 12 t-shirts is, how I spent the first 400 and sold those for $20 a pop. First sale was to my father, hardest sale of my life still to date. He nickel and dime me. I was like, Dad, I'm just trying to start something here. I'm broke as hell, put myself through school. And he's like, no, I think it's overpriced. But it's funny, he still has that shirt and he brings it up at like once a year and he's like, yeah, one day you'll buy this shirt back for a whole lot more, put it in a trophy case or something. So he teases me about that. But yeah, that's how it started. Again, just wanted to represent where I was from. I was proud of where I was from and I was kind of pulled out of that environment, and I was in Europe, which was like, I haven't been back since, so I don't know what it's like now, but back then, this is like before Instagram. This is before FaceTime. Like I would Skype my parents, it was just a different time. And I was a kid with a missing front tooth, long hair, hockey player that you could identify in North America as a hockey player. But over there, they just thought I was like broke without like a dental plan. Like they didn't get it because they're so focused on soccer. Right. So, it was just a weird cultural shock for this small town kid to just find himself in the middle of Europe by himself at 19. Just trying to figure it out. So all of that kind of inspired, just, and it didn't have to be clothing because my passion wasn't really fashion. I just wanted to represent where I was from. And then I took what I felt the easiest way out was like, oh, I'll just wear it, like I'll just wear my pride. And like I said, I was putting myself through school. Of course I had a scholarship, but I overloaded and did summer courses and didn't have a summer job because I felt really old in university when I started at 21. So I just like got through it really quickly and wasn't making much money. So I had like a few extra $100 and that was it. And I was just like, okay, like I don't mind. Like if I lose it, it's fine. Hopefully I get it back was my original ambition. And then it just kind of took off like around campus, my hockey team, my hockey connections around Atlantic Canada. And then everybody in my hometown really supported it and really gravitated towards it. And it just kind of grew from there. Like after the 12 t-shirts, it's funny, just last weekend I was at a charity softball tournament and a girl I went to high school with was like, Sawyer, like we hear you, share all these these business conversations about the early days. And she's like, we want to hear the real like truth. And I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, tell them about the party. So I used to host this great big field party band. Oh yeah, like crazy, like such a makeshift event too. Like
This
we'd
is
build
so
the stage.
Maritimes. My mom's from the Maritimes, and this just reminds me so much.
Yeah, yeah. It was in a farmer's field. We'd build the stage like the day before. We'd be like having beers, like building it. So like, was it safe? We don't know. We built like a dance floor, had big bonfires, like pallet fires, like 20 feet high. So we used to do those once a summer in June to kind of kick off the summer. And it started before I went to Europe because I was going to Europe. I was like, I want to have a huge banger of a party before I go. So, but one of those years we hosted that for 4 years. But one of those years I just started Country Liberty and I printed 50 tank tops and I showed up at the party with these 50 tank tops and people started buying them for $20 a piece. They were excited. They weren't really sure what I was doing. I wasn't sure what I was really doing. It wasn't a business at that time, but I just wanted to like, I don't know, like, have people wearing these shirts and, we sold them all. And then from there, that's 62 now, like in market. And that's what compounded and kind of took off. And that party was like a really big start to it because we had 50 all at once, just out and about. And, people were, started conversation and stuff around it, at that time.
Those tank tops. Like I know exactly what those
Yeah.
tanks are. Like, are you talking about the ones that is like kind of looks like a guitar pick a little bit?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
I
Those are the
remember.
ones.
Yeah, I remember those. That's amazing.
Hmm.
Did you so once you finished school, you kind of took on this country liberty and obviously now it is doing so well. Tell us a little bit now about like how many products you have.
Hmm.
I know you were on Dragon Den, so a little bit about that experience, and kind of like where you are today now.
Sure. Yeah. So I was at school. I accelerated my degree for a few reasons. I thought I was going to play pro again. So as you know, the younger you are, the better opportunity you have. So I wanted to speed through that. And I did. But then by the time I finished, Country Liberty had enough traction that I had to decide, like, do I want to pursue hockey or do I want to pursue business? And honestly, just the longevity of business versus hockey, I felt like that was kind of the safer bet. Um, One of my teammates in the East Coast League got his wrist stepped on, and he was like early 30s, and he can't play hockey, he can't work. He was uneducated. He had a wife and kids. Like, he was stressed about how he's going to support his family. And just watching that as like a 20-year-old, I was like, I don't want to be in that position. So a lot of those thoughts kind of went into my head, and I said, I'm gonna give this business thing a chance. And then I played in that like semi-pro like fighting league in Quebec, which is just a complete zoo. For money, I was a supply teacher during the week, so I'd supply teach during the week, travel to Quebec every weekend, and play hockey and for cash. And then I don't know if I should say this, but I would bring back cheap Quebec beer and sell it to my buddies and stuff too. So I was just scrappy, like any way to make money to get by, because Country Liberty wasn't a real business yet. But I was working evenings and weekends on Country Liberty, and it just kind of grew from there. One store led to another, and our website picked up slightly, like very slow and steady. But our stores were growing, quicker. So we started gaining stores, and then I eventually got into Studio, which is a big retail chain out east here. So that was like our first kind of big break, and that was when I was able to step away from these other jobs I was working and just work full time on Country Liberty, because it could like support my lifestyle. And I remember like where I live now, I have Starlink internet here. But if it wasn't before Starlink, there was no internet here. Like there's no high speed, there's no dial up, there's nothing. So I used to go into town and go to the little local diner and get like a coffee and a cinnamon roll and like work for like 6 hours. And as you know, like in university culture, that's like normal. You go to a cafe and you do your work. Well, in a small town like this, there's no schools or anything. Like they're just like, why are you loitering for hours and hours? But the owners
Like,
were
go
great.
home, you weirdo.
Literally, I felt like a weirdo. And people will bring it up. They'll be like, I remember when you worked at Seaside. And I would be like, yeah, like I had no source of internet, literally. So I would, and I couldn't afford an office. So
Thank God for
I worked.
Seaside.
Thank God for Seaside. Honestly, Denise, shout out the owner. She put up with me for a long time. She did not make money off my tables because, she'd generate like $10 in sales for 6 hours of a table being taken up. It was not good ROI, but she was a good sport. I got a little office with like no bathroom, just like a little room for a couple months. And then I eventually moved into still not a real office. My old school, they ended up selling like classroom. They rented classrooms to like whoever needed them for whatever. And I ended up renting a classroom and then multiple classrooms and worked out of a school for a long time. But yeah, that was the early days. And then just 2 years ago, we built a brand new warehouse and distribution center in my hometown here in the industrial park. Nice big, beautiful barn dominion style, like something I'm really proud of. I designed it and was the general contractor on the project. So now we operate out of that, and we also have partners now in Nashville too that we, fulfill and distribute with. So a long ways from inventory in the spare bedroom and working at Seaside, but humble beginnings for sure.
For sure. And then when did you go on Dragon Den? What was that experience like?
Yeah, Dragon's Den, that was late 2020. That was like in the thick of COVID.
Mm-hmm.
I applied for it the year before, I think, or 2 years before, and I got rejected. And then I found out that when I got on it the second time, they said that the clothing industry is one of the hardest industries to get on with because there's just a lot of them and a lot apply to go on. So first time, whatever, I guess my business wasn't interesting enough. And then the second time it was. So I did a pitch they travel around the country and they do pitches in every province. So I went to my like provincial pitch, didn't prepare, didn't really, because the first time I was rejected. So my ego was a little bruised and I was like, fuck, whatever, I'll go do it. But I'm not going to get upset about it. And I went and winged it, which was probably the best thing for me because it was really candid. Did really well on that pitch. They moved me on to like interviews and stuff like via Zoom, did those, must have passed those tests. And then they eventually invited me to Toronto to film, But the interesting thing about COVID was there was so much up in the air. You probably remember, like you couldn't leave the province. You didn't know what the rules were. Every 2 weeks, the rules were changing. Like, do you test? Do you not test? Do you quarantine? Do you know? So I ended up driving to Toronto. I had to quarantine a week in Toronto and 2 weeks when I returned, and then I was there for a week. So it was like a whole month commitment to get down there. Wasn't allowed models, wasn't allowed like any physical contact with anybody. I was like 25 feet away from anybody at all times. But I went on the show. I was really prepared for that one because I didn't want to embarrass myself, on TV. And just had a good day. I was the first pitch in the morning. I was there at like 6 a.m. My pitch was at like 8 or 9 a.m. Really prepared, really, feeling good. Numbers were good. Business was in a good place. So I felt confident. Pitched, got a handful of offers. And then one of them actually turned into a deal with Lane Merrifield, later. But what's interesting about that show is like you agree to a handshake deal on TV, but the real deal doesn't happen until months later. So we filmed August 30th, I think. It aired November like 12th, and I didn't actually sign a deal until February. Yeah. So the show was promoted like, oh, Sawyer got a deal, like Country Liberty got a deal, and there was no actual deal contracted. Like it was just a handshake basis. They do a complete investigation of your business, look all through your books, look through everything, and then negotiate the real deal, which is off screen, But from the TV show's perspective, they just wanted to like, the entertainment of, oh, the deal and the highs and lows.
TV.
Yeah, it's just, it's fake, right? So, so much of it was fake. My pitch was like 7 minutes on TV, but I was in there for an hour, So they edited it. They made it look, they made it look dramatic and suspenseful and stressful. And I didn't even they were so far zoomed in on my face and with the lights, like my eyes looked like they were like light green. Like it was just like everything was different than what it is. It really was in reality.
Like media versus reality is insane.
Yeah, it is. It is. I mean, you probably get reality TV invites and stuff like that. Do you with your socials?
Yeah. So I actually had, I have a few friends that were on The Bachelor, and then I actually had The Bachelor reached out. It was actually right before I met Colin. Reached out and wanted me to come on the show, which I remember like picking up. This is actually the best part, is I pick up the phone and I don't know who it is. They like say who they are from like New York or whatever, and they're like, like I think they were trying to do, maybe I think this is, maybe I don't, correct, I could be so wrong, but they were trying to do, from what I understand, like a widower situation.
Oh, really?
I think they were reaching out to a few of us, or just like grasping stories, right, a little bit. And for me, I was like, I'm not competing over husbands' deaths. Like, that's not gonna go well. But I do remember my like shock on the phone when they called and they're like, yeah, like if you want to move forward, like you have to do like, they do like a background check, physical test, and then like a psych kind of like whatever. And I literally remember blurting out to this like poor director, and I was like, I'm not gonna pass that. I have PTSD. she's like, okay. Like, I think they meant like more like addiction or anything, but I just like blurted out that I wouldn't like pass this like psych exam on to go on the
So they think you're an addict, basically.
Yeah. But I was just like, oh, Emily, you just like blurt out the like most randomest things. But I do know, I know how like kind of The Bachelor and reality TV and all that kind of works, just from a few friends. So it's definitely not what people think that they see on TV. But even hockey is like that, right? Like I feel like people get so invested like in the team and all that, but you remember like when they're off TV, they're normal human beings as well.
Yes. Exactly.
So yeah, no, I definitely know all about that type of stuff, or even socials. Everyone thinks that about socials, but
exactly.
Country Liberty now, how many products do you have? New arrivals, how can people support?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't even know how many products we have, honestly.
So many.
It's changed. Like we're literally dropping 10 hats today, so it's new all the time. new stuff all the time. That's kind of the name of our game. Like we're always innovating because it new. Like you can have a good run with a product for 6 to 12 months, and then it's dead in the water after that. So it's always like, coming out with new stuff and new and exciting stuff. We're in 150 stores now across Canada. So in Canada, we're in all the studio stores. We just launched last week in Boathouse, so we're not in all of their 90 stores yet.
Amazing.
Yeah, we're in about just under half, and I assume we're going to be moved into most of their stores here in the next couple months. We are in lids as well across the country, and then a ton of great independent retailers as well online, countryliberty.ca. We're in two stores in Nashville, White's Mercantile and Dasher, and obviously online you can find us there. And we're going to be in a whole lot more stores here in the next 12 months in the U.S. as well. That's kind of my objective. In addition to kind of managing the team, I'm really laser focused on the U.S. market, specifically the Southeast. So going to try to crack into that market. It's the big leagues down there, though. A lot more competition, a lot more challenging. But nothing we're not up for, and nothing I'm not confident that we'll have success in. But yeah, right now it's across Canada in stores, 2 stores in Tennessee, and online, and soon to be more. I assume we'll get into probably 200 stores by Christmas in Canada, and then the US is kind of more of a question mark, but by next summer I'm sure we'll be in a few dozen.
Do you design them all yourself?
No, that's
You
why it's nice. So I
yeah.
originally I was heavily influenced on the design because I was like doing everything.
I'm like, did you
Um,
design the hat you're wearing right now? Because it's pretty cool. So do I give you credit or do I
oh,
give someone else
thank you.
credit?
No, this was a team effort. So when it comes to hats, because I love hats, I'm more involved with that. But we have like a team, and we kind of judge it on the consensus of the team of what we do and how we do it. The hats, I have a lot of input, so I did have a lot of input in this one. But for garments and stuff like that, I rely more on the other team members. But we're all part of the conversation, so it's hard to say like one person designed something because it's usually like group effort.
Amazing. That's awesome. And then one more thing before you go, because I know you're super busy, but I also know that you are big into construction. Tell us a little bit about that, and if you're on the Maritime East Coast and want to rent
Yeah.
houses that
Yes.
you've built.
So outside of Country Liberty, a business partner and I built a little tiny home resort. We have 6 tiny homes and one 2-bedroom A-frame. It's all brand new. It's on 35 acres. It's outdoorsy. It's like kind of looks like where I'm at right now. 10 minutes off a ski hill. It's called Cabina, and our website is just cabina.house. So you can check us out there. We're on Instagram as well, and all the things. But yeah, tiny home, just nature escape. Like basically the idea was I started a log cabin resort and built it and sold it since, but it was called Liberty Village, which was basically trying to offer the country liberty experience to people from maybe the city or outsiders, and just you can come spend a couple nights with us and experience that lifestyle that I'm so proud to have grown up in and still live within. So then Cabina was basically just a new and improved version of that. It's the same thing, it's just a great place to go out and kind of hang out and be out in nature, and maybe jump on the ski hill or maybe travel down to the ocean, go to the beach. Like there's lots of hiking, there's lots of things to do that are all like outdoor based in that area. So that's kind of why we chose that spot. But yeah, that resort, we're looking to expand it now to we just finished our first year of business with Cabina, so we're just kind of getting our feet wet and figuring things out. But I think that we're going to, over the next year or two, probably expand more units. We're talking about maybe an event center, maybe a wedding venue. Like we're just kind of excited about the opportunities that are there, now that we've got a year behind us.
You've done
Yeah.
amazing, from small town country boy to hockey player to now running an incredible clothing line, and now this as well. So good job. You've come far from the You Are More mug days.
Oh, the You Are More mug. I know. I would do another promo for you, but I can't do the mug thing, man. I cringe just thinking about that. Oh my God.
I
Not
appreciated
good.
that. I mean, I was on the website for years, so
Oh God, don't tell me that. We're gonna scrape the internet.
Don't worry, it's gone.
Good, good, good.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. And yeah, hopefully a lot of people will be able to check out Country Liberty because it is awesome and I love everything that it stands for. It makes me miss home that much more.
Oh, awesome. Well, thank you very much, Emily. It was great. It was great chat with you. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, no problem.